And we're gonna go over a little bit of training today. I had a couple of other things I was hoping would be ready today, but unfortunately, they are not just ready yet. We have a philosophy of deploying things fast as long as they work, and we didn't reach that level of confidence just yet in that feature. But rest assured, we've got some really cool stuff coming for you guys in the pipeline. I cannot wait to show you. So that being said, we're gonna go over one niche today. My goal for today is to basically walk you through from start to finish exactly how you can do everything for one particular niche. I've learned that it really does seem to help the most when I'm able to really see somebody do it from start to finish. And at the end, we'll have some Q&A available in case you guys have specific questions. But if you have any questions while I'm talking, please make sure you put them in the chat. Seth is able to help answer them as we go. So with that being said, the niche that I decided to choose for this little exercise is pest control. And so we're going to go over kind of what I did from start to finish in terms of like creating this pest control prompt. But I just want to make sure that you guys know that just because I'm doing this for pest control does not mean like it won't work for other niches, and like you have to do it exactly as I have it written here. Copy and pasting is actually usually not that great of a method for building these types of things. So just keep that in mind. So the first thing that I did was I actually first created a new account. So I'm going to go high level, and we're going to just chat about what that looks like. So whenever you create a new account, you go to sub accounts and then you click add sub account, and then you choose the snapshot. So yours will be under imported snapshot, and it's going to say Capri GPT-3 template snapshot. If you did not get access to that yet, that is what you get from our /GPT-3 page. So our capriai.us/GPT-3. You can go to that website, fill in your information. You'll get an email that has the snapshot, and it has a video explaining everything in the snapshot. But you'll click select and continue. It'll take you through the whole process of setting up an account. And at the end, you'll end up in a view that basically looks like this. So once you're done setting up all the information for that account, you'll end up here, and then you can click switch to sub account. From here, you'll come into this account. You won't have a phone number, obviously, but in your automations, you will have a workflow list. And in this workflow list, you'll have 3 folders: SMS, Instagram, and Facebook Messenger. And then you'll have this customer replied paid ongoing convo GPT-3 workflow. So an important thing to know about this workflow, as well as the other live ones that say paid, these only work if the customer replied with the tag paid. So you can see, this is for the paid SMS opt-in. But if somebody replies via SMS, you can see that this customer replied workflow is only expected to work if they don't have the paid tag, or if they do have the paid tag. So they don't have the tag kill switch and they do have the tag paid. So this kill switch tag, that does come with a snapshot, but it is not anything to do with us. It is just what we decided to use as the filter for if the message should be forwarded to the bot or not. So that's what the kill switch tag is, but it's not required. You can name this anything. And the same thing for the paid tag. You can name this anything, but this is how I was basically showing you how to keep up with leads that are coming in from advertisements, paid advertisements. And then the branch that follows is the webhook step. And that was a lot of what Seth was talking about at the beginning. The video that comes with the email that shows the snapshot has an explanation for pretty much all of these. But the big thing that I wanted to add to this, I wanted to kind of show you guys how to go about doing that, is this web chat prompt. So if I go to let's see. Yeah, so web chat reply follow up via SMS. So this workflow is designed specifically to say, okay, if the customer replied through the chat widget, then I'm going to fire the webhook and I'm going to use the same prompt that I have here. So this prompt that I have here is the one that I built whenever I connected it through Capri. So just to kind of show you what that looks like, which I did kind of skip a step. So I went straight into what this workflow is going to look like. But before you really can actually have it work, you have to go to systems.capriai.us. So as soon as you create the account, you then have to go to systems.capriai.us and you have to make sure you sign in with your email. And then from there, it'll ask you to choose the account you want to sign in with. And so I'm going to choose the Capri GPT pest control account because that's the one I made. And then I'm going to come here. It's going to take me here and immediately take me to the settings. Now, if you don't have any calendars in your account, which if this is a brand new blank account that you've never done anything with before, your calendar list here is going to be empty and it's not going to show anything. So you have to add calendars first and make sure that they're active calendars. So that way we're not trying to read into and book onto an inactive calendar that's in draft mode. And I'll show where to find that in just a little bit. And then for the objective, if you want it to actually be able to read the calendar, you do need to put the objective to be book appointment. Otherwise, it won't actually try to read the calendar when it's talking about availability. And a very common thing that you'll see even in the news when it comes to these AI and large language models is a thing called hallucination. So it just kind of makes stuff up. And the reason that is because a large language model, even though it's extremely intelligent, it is not conscious. So contextual awareness is not native to like how it works. And so it's trying to just follow the pattern. And if it knows that it's an assistant and it knows that the main thing it's supposed to do as the assistant is to book the appointment, and it knows that the next part of the conversation is going to have something to do with the availability on the calendar, even if it doesn't have access to the calendar, it'll still try to just like follow that pattern. And you can counteract against this if you don't want it to try to read the calendar. You can counteract against this by putting specific instructions in the prompt, very, very emphasized that say, hey, you don't have access to the real-time calendar. You don't know what slots are available and what's not. When this comes up, you need to just say whatever it is that you wanted to say for the handler. So the handler would be something like, I don't have access to the calendar right now, or our calendar is always changing, or, I'll be sure to confirm the appointment time once I have access to the calendar. But, let's move on to the other side of the, qualification process here. So that's on the appointment side. And then on the connect bot side, just always go with control CRM workflows for GPT-3/chat GPT, because we don't have it connected the other way for like all these hashtag and stage stuff. We don't have any of these connected for GPT-3 yet. We're going to be moving all of that just into our V3 app, which is, we're in the process of migrating it, and it'll be done in a couple months and ready for use anyway. So that's the CRM side of things. On the AI side of things, you can choose your provider to be GPT-3 or Dialogflow. We obviously recommend GPT-3 pretty much always. There's not really many cases where Dialogflow is more useful anymore, unless you need just absolute full control of anything and everything that might be said during the conversation. But a big question I get a lot of times is like, what's the difference between Dialogflow and GPT-3? And I can actually like pull up Dialogflow here and just show you like, so let's go to like our booking agent here. So the thing about Dialogflow specifically is that at any one stage in the conversation, it's trying to figure out what's being said during that conversation turn. But during this conversation turn, it doesn't actually have access to what was said in the conversation up to this point. And when I say it, I mean the machine learning model. So your system may be able to keep the full conversation history of what was said, but when it comes to determining the appropriate response, which is what we're actually trying to do here, right? Like the whole point of using an AI is so that in the moment of receiving a message, it responds appropriately and productively, right? Moves towards the process of getting the appointment booked. So To accomplish that with something like Dialogflow, which is using something called a classification model or an inference model, you have to, the only tool you have for determining what the appropriate response is labels for the intent of the message that's coming in right then and there. You don't have the ability to have the AI consider the other previous messages and the overall context of the situation as part of its decision with what it should say next. You only have the ability to just set up like positive intent, negative intent, booking day, booking question, and stuff like this. You only have the ability to set that up and then predefine what the response is when that intent is matched. And so that's why we mostly recommend using GPT, because GPT is more contextual. And so it's going to follow the overall context of, what the conversation is. So that's the difference between the two AI providers. For your OpenAI key, you do always need to be able to get, your OpenAI key to be able to use this. You just click on the little link from the tooltip here, and it'll take you, and you can just create a new secret key. You can only have 5 at a time. So just make sure you keep track, because once you create it, you can never see it again. So copy it and you'll paste it here. And then this is where you'll create your prompt. And so the prompt is what I was talking about. And you guys can all have this in case you want to check it out yourself. But the main prompt here, this is based off of our GPT-3 assistant prompts design. So the reason we follow this, and I'll make sure I put this link in here as well, but this is all linked in the help docs too, guys, if you guys want to go to the help.capri.us. So we follow this template for a reason. It's not like a totally new thing. So what did he call it? It's called mega prompting. Chat GPT. It was on Twitter. Let me see if I can find that link real quick. Yeah. So it's actually like, it's more so based in like, language design, to be honest. But the biggest thing is that Chat GPT itself was trained on a specific format of text data. So like it was shown Wikipedia and Reddit and, IMDb and like all this different stuff. And all of those followed the format of an article. An article starts in it has a structure, right? The article starts with a background information about, the overall context of what this article is going to be about. It talks about the primary objectives of this plot, right? So it's like, it starts out with, I'm sure all of you've seen a bunch of stuff about the submarine that went missing and, unfortunately probably lost the lives of a bunch of people. A big question was like, if you were to read an article about this, what does that structure look like? And it's like underwater submersible vehicle on tour to see the Titanic, goes missing at sea. And then below that, it'll be a description, right? It'll be a background. It'll be like Ocean Gate, the leading tourist provider for, underwater exploration, yada, 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 was doing this, that, or the other. And then this happened. And then from there, the steps to complete the task. This is where we kind of differentiate, because we're talking about how to give an instruction versus how to read an article. But Chat GPT is just, it's a fine-tuned version of GPT-3, and GPT-3 was trained on articles. And so that's what I'm trying to get to, is that the prompt design that seems to be working the best and like seems to really at least follow the instructions the most is when you follow this overall structure. And so I'll put this in the chat as well in case you guys want to check it out. But basically, you can see we do follow it as this, right? So you are assistant name, the friendly assistant for whatever. So this is the persona section. So simulate the persona. And the persona includes the company that you work for and the persona of the company, right? So that's what this whole first part is. The next part is then the task. So the task itself is, your job is to do this and do this and do this, right? So that's the task part of the prompt. And then from there, it's the steps to complete the task. And so one thing that I did here for the pest control side of it is if the appointment will be at a normal residential home, you must ask the contact if any pets are in the home. If so, politely ask the homeowner to confirm that the pet is going to be put up. So this is basically giving the instructions to the assistant so that they know what order they have to follow for booking the appointment. And I actually forgot 2 paragraphs here. Let me just add these 2 paragraphs on the top. So this is the persona. Yeah, I want to get rid of the, I don't want it to be bold either. So this is like the persona section of it, right? And then this is the goal section of it. And then this is where the rules are for the prompt, right? So it's like the steps to complete the task and then the context and constraints. So the context and constraints here is discussed by like asking the same question repeatedly is unprofessional. If the contact indicates they need immediate assistance or technical detailed advice, let them know you're here to help schedule their appointments, but for the detailed inquiries, yada, yada, yada. And then look, and I'm going to tell you why this is trippy and why this is such an important thing here in a minute. But look, it finishes out with the goal again, right? So it finishes out with what the goal should be and what the format output should be. And this is totally optional. This is only if you're trying to generate like JSON objects or like something like that. But the goal side of it is mostly where like the final part of the prompt is to just determine your purpose is to help the contact with questions, scheduling appointments, and general inquiries. You should not answer questions outside of this and always ensure this, that, or the other. So that's like the mega prompt structure, right? That according to this guy, anyway, it's, the best place to do it. And here's like an output, and there's like a whole thread about it. But that's the whole anatomy of a ChatGPT mega prompt. And this was from January. And since then, there has actually been almost 6 iterations of ChatGPT. And guess what? This is how most of them are trained. Like this is kind of the structure that they're used to seeing. And so how do I know that this is actually not just witchcraft and not just like completely made up and stuff like that? Well, I'll show you. I use ChatGPT to write this prompt. So I used GPT-4 to write the prompt. And I did it and you can all do this, which is the really, really cool part about this that I'm really excited to share with you today, is this is the prompt that you say, I need your help writing a prompt that I can use for a large language model AI to take on the persona of an assistant. My prompt follows a particular pattern, which you can see here. And guess what, guys? Guess what I did? I went to the doc, which you all have access to for free, and I copied it and I pasted it right into here into GPT-4. And then I said, this is the template I use. And an example of this in action is, and then what I did is I already had another prompt for another business that I wrote, which you guys now, guess what? You have access to our main prompt for ChatGPT for pest control. So now you have a fully written niche specific prompt that you can give to GPT-4, and you can say, this is an example of it in action. And then you can say, I'm working on creating a new prompt. And look, this is all I did. I wrote the first 2 messages, first message and a half. And then I said, please help me by continuing to write it. And then there you go. Boom. It just completed the entire prompt for me. And the trippy part about this, guys, is it followed the pattern more than I did. So I don't have any of this part of this in my other prompt. So I don't have a remember, it is your goal to do this, that, or the other. I have like, it's extremely important to understand that you are only here for this, but you are not responsible for that. But it followed the exact pattern that I taught it. And it follows along with the same pattern of this, a mega prompt of reiterating the goal at the end, setting the constraints, all that stuff. So my advice to you guys is if you're getting started with this, you're trying to get a really good goal, like you're trying to get a really good prompt for your use case, take this exact process and do it. Take the pest control tag prompt document, copy and paste it as well as this one, and do it in GPT-4. So that's for that. Now, the next part was for the Q&A, because what's the next part of our settings? We got to put the model, we got to put the temperature, but then we got to put the spreadsheet URL, right? So what I did was I took my own spreadsheet URL that you guys have access to. And I made a copy of this. And then I specified it for pest control. And I literally did these 3 lines first. I copied those and I put them here into ChatGPT. And I said, please provide a set of commonly asked questions and answers that a contact may ask with an appropriate answer for each. The format should follow this. And then I just put the contact assistant thing here. And then I said, continue creating the top 20. It didn't do well with continuing to use custom values, so it might not do great with that. But in terms of all the other stuff, look what it did. What are your working hours? Here's our working hours. And it got this from the prompt. It literally just picked that up from the prompt that I listed above. So not only is it able to understand the format that I need, but it's able to read my prompt above and know that it needs to pull my questions and answers from the prompt above. How much does it cost? It created an answer for that. That's great. How soon can you send someone over? It did great for that. Like, these are all great, 20 great questions. So I just took all of these and I put them right into here and had it, just set up in there. And then I took that URL and I went here into my knowledge base and I added the URL here and clicked add. What I do to just verify is I always just paste the spreadsheet URL into here just to make sure that the spreadsheet does exist in our knowledge base, and this adds the extension to it. And from there, I just went straight into testing. So I've got termites, or let's say I've got ants all in my kitchen, I think, from my dog's food bowl. Can you have someone check it out? And so I haven't done any sessions yet. I haven't saved any sessions or anything like that. I just put the prompt in the spreadsheet, and so far it seems to be working really well. Absolutely. We can help you that before we schedule an appointment. May I please have the zip code so I can check your availability in the area? And so how did it know to do that? There's no emulator sessions teaching it, right? I don't have any saved sessions. So the only thing it could have learned from is this. So before you can complete the booking, you must collect the contact zip code. After you have the zip code, you must confirm what type of building will be at. So let me continue on. So 30330, it's Atlanta zip code. Is this going to be at a normal home, apartment, or business? Perfect. That's exactly what I would have wanted to say. So I'm going to say it's in my apartment. And the reason I said this is because this is exactly what I wanted it to ask, right? Can you please specify if any special requirements are needed to enter the building, such as a gate code or front desk? And that's exactly what I say here, right? If the appointment will be at an apartment or condo, you must ask the contact to specify if any special requirements are needed to enter the building, such as a gate code or a front desk. So the thing it did not ask is something about the business questions, right? So you must confirm that somebody will be available to let the technician in at the time of the appointment. That's only at a business and not at a residential home. So it did not ask me to confirm that somebody is going to be there, right? It knew that according to the prompt, this is what I should ask. Nope, it's just apartment 11C. Great. May I please confirm if any pets are in the apartment? If so, could you please confirm? There you go. So again, if the contact, let's see, somewhere in here, there's something about pets. Yeah. If so, politely ask the homeowner to confirm that they're going to be put up. And so the only thing I would say is that I could probably have this do better by saying like, hey, I said it's my dog's food bowl. So I would probably say, great. And you mentioned that the ants are gathering around a dog's food bowl. Can you please, verify that? Can you please verify that your dog and any other animals you may have will be put up during the appointment? Cool. So I'll click update, and then I like that. So I'm going to save that. And yep, sure. Great. And then from here, it should go ahead and when would you like to schedule the appointment? So this is not too bad. So I'm going to say, please, as soon as possible. And then it should just read the calendar and tell me what times we have available tomorrow. So yeah, Monday, June 26th. So this technician's calendar is not open on the weekends. So yeah, the next one would be Monday, June 26th. And then yeah, say from 8 a.m. to 4:30. So from here, I'll just say a day and go from there. So this is doing pretty good. And of course, the way that I can make this even better and better is just to continue to one, add more information into the spreadsheet here. So add more questions and answers, and then also add more data into the prompt. So just adding more like examples of situations that people might ask about, policies they might ask about, stuff like that. And then the whole point of the emulator is to reinforce everything you put in the prompt, right? And so another thing I would say is this is more so like I'm taking control of everything. But if you guys have the enterprise plan, doing everything else that I said about building the prompt with GPT-4, putting the top 10 to 20 most common questions and answers into a spreadsheet, and starting there, the next step from there, rather than you doing all this, is actually, hey, client, hey, pest control client number 5, whatever. Here's the spreadsheet for you. Please fill out all the questions and answers as you see fit. And also in our thing here, what you can do is in your agency settings, you can have under settings, you can get a custom menu links, and then you can put the emulator like this. And so we already have the emulator added. And again, all you got to do is put location equals squiggly location.id, and token equals your knowledge token, which you get from the knowledge tab. So you go to a little button here, click on reveal token, and then it'll show you your token. And so you put that here in the whole URL, and then you choose which accounts you want to show it to. So make sure it's only accounts that are connected to Capri. If you try to connect it to accounts that aren't shown, it'll just error. So let's go to what is it, pest control. So now I'm going to just come in here, add pest control as one of the accounts that has access to it. And then from this point forward, all I got to do is have my client fill out the spreadsheet, and then also just come here to the emulator and literally just ask their own questions. So, hey, is anyone available to chat? Or I guess this is more so applicable to be like, so we're waiting for that. Nice. I don't know what might be going on here. Maybe not though. But yeah, for sharing the pest control tag prompts, there we go. Yeah, I guess OpenAI's server must have blipped there for a second. So absolutely candle removal. May I please have your zip code? So it's doing great with asking for the zip code first. So this is doing pretty good. And of course, having your client update it here and then save it, that'll be the best way for it to just learn and train on. For the pest control tag prompts, Jordan, they should be in the chat, but just in case, Seth, can you share them again? But they should be in the Zoom chat here. Do you still, yeah, what Seth said. So DaVinci, I'll actually say one thing DaVinci might become better at, depending on how you build the prompt, and that's another thing I'm going to be talking about, is the actions model. Is like classification tasks, because the thing about ChatGPT is a lot of times it seems to want to be more creative than it really needs to be. It wants to try to be smarter than it needs to be. And so DaVinci, on the other hand, is more just like straightforward with its predictions. So that's really the only thing I would say maybe is better, is whenever you're setting up the actions prompt. So whenever you're setting up your webhook, let's go like actions models here. Go to, so like, let's say the customer replied and they have this paid tag. So what you can also set here is you can actually put actions model, and then you can have this set to be anything. You have this be GPT-4, or you can have this be text DaVinci 003, or you can have the new, GPT 3.5 turbo. What is it, Seth? 0616 or something like that. I don't remember what it is, but you can see you're muted, Seth. I don't know if you mean to be, but you can see all the OpenAI models and what are available here. So this is the link. And so any of these can be supported. So if you have access to GPT-4, you can do that. But all of these, in terms of like the models that are supported, is all of these 3.5 ones. So you have to have access to the GPT-4 ones through the waitlist, and you can access it here. But for the generally available ones, they have a 0613 one, which is newer, and it's supposed to be better. Yeah, I don't know, something about it's supposed to be better. So you can always try it. And then 16K just has a wider context. And the reason that this is important, and you might want to use this, you might want to use this if you're hitting rate limiters for your main completion. And so basically you would put this in the webhook exactly as it appears, because we always just default to the base model. So if you just put ChatGPT as your model, like we have here, this is actually on our side, it's converting to GPT 3.5 Turbo. But if you wanted to put the exact model name, like GPT 3.5 Turbo 16K, if you want to put that here, it will still work. It'll pass this exact model, but you just have to put exactly that. And the same thing here, like if you want to use the newer actions model for the like for your actions, instead of like basically checking if a tag needs to be added and stuff like that, you can use that or GPT-4 for your actions model. And what this will do is it'll make it so that whenever these prompts are getting run, so these are the next prompts, right? And so one of the first decisions we got to make as a pest control company, as a technician, is which technician am I sending out? Basically, like what area does this contact belong to? And so, the easiest way to do it really, and I know this is not super convenient, but if you need to split out in zip codes, this is how I'm doing it. And basically what I would say is just say zip code map of North Georgia, which is where I live. So I live here. And so I'll use this, which that's a little too zoomed in. I'll use a bigger one. Oh, that's okay. Yeah, so like this one here is a little bit more useful. So you can actually like zoom in on what all the different zip codes are and stuff. And so I just put like what zip codes are going to be covered by what, like which technician basically. And then I put them as a comma separated list. And then there's three. There's the technician A, technician B, and then there's the out of service area. And then of course, if I had, somebody that does all of these, then I would put all of these as one technician, all of these as one technician, and then anything that's a zip code that is not in one of these, which this is a combined comma separated list that is just this one and this one together. If they provide a zip code and it's not in here, then it's going to add the out of area tag. So that's one way I could do it. If I wanted to do it instead to make it so that this is my disqualify prompt so that it says nothing instead, I could also just, instead of putting tag out of area, I could also just put disqualify. And this will make it so that the bot won't respond. So if this prompt is met, which is this tag should be added, yada, 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 put that here, then the disqualified tag will be added. And when the disqualified action is met, it doesn't respond in that event. So in that instance, it doesn't actually send the response for that message. It just adds the tag and then stops from there. So a big thing about this, if you want to use, let's say you wanted to use like the 16K context model for this, the reason that could be useful for you is because if you wanted to get more, if you wanted to get more specific with it, what you could do here is you could actually give examples. Say, here are some examples for you to reference when making your decision. And then you can literally just say, example 1, or here's the conversation. Yeah, let's just say conversation so far, and then just put contact and then contacts message here, and then assistance message here, and so on and so forth. So what's going to happen here is that we're going to, and then you got to give the example of just like, based on the conversation above, should the tag be added? And then you say, answer something like this, like, no. So this is where you would put like your yes or no. So this is how you can, and I would say maybe don't put the answer because it might not do too great with that. Just say yes. Answer with yes or no and nothing else. Because this is very similar to how our system prompt is feeding it. So I don't know why it's doing that. Jeez. Okay. Well, based on the conversation above, should the tag be added? Answer with yes or no and nothing else. Yes. And so you would do this multiple times. So you would take this whole thing and then you would just come up with another conversation here. So based on the conversation above, should they answer yes or no? Then you put no. And so like you can get this in depth with it, and it'll, if you have like a really complicated use case, which for this, it's very straightforward. It's just like, does the zip code that they provide exist within this list of zip codes? Yes or no. And like, it's going to be fine. But if you have a more complicated use case, if you have like a more in-depth granular type of tag that you need to add, you can do this and it'll help. But I would say before you go down that route of doing that, try following that prompt schema in every prompt that you do. So like even the tag prompts and the disqualified prompts and stuff like that, try following this exact schema, which the link for this should be in the chat as well, like in the Zoom chat. But basically try to follow this prompt of like, you know, give the background, not so much of a persona for tags, because we're already giving a persona of you are a moderator responsible for determining when a tag should be added. The business you represent has given you the following instructions or of when the tag should be added, and then we put in your prompt. And so if you were to then say something along the lines of, you know, sometimes when a contact, like whenever a contact says that they don't meet this condition XYZ, this tag should be added. This is usually going to be the case when XYZ, you know, do not add this tag when this happens. Like it's basically, it's a prompt style that is most commonly accepted for getting accurate predictions and stuff like that. So definitely recommend trying that as part of your process whenever trying to improve the tag outputs and stuff like that. But yeah, so we're gonna try to have maybe like a different use case for like, or like a different niche every week, like that we go over and just kind of show how we did it. But I think just kind of walking through like this is a good place to start for people to kind of understand just really how much you can split it out, because the next part of it is the building type, right? So it's like part of our prompt is for them to consider what type of building it is. And so like this would be one of the tags that I would have is, in the webhook is like tag residential. And so one thing that we talked about last week a little bit is like people will have, if we put all 4 of these into the webhook step at one time, it's going to get kind of confusing, right? Because we might have like a tag and then let's say that we have the first one, which is tech A. So if we have this as the key here, and then we have the prompt for here. And then, we copy that 4 more times, that can get really long, right? Because what's happening here is every single time the contact replies, we are running this entire prompt check on every single request. So that's the one thing you do have to be a little bit careful for with setting up such a long prompt like this, and why we recommend starting with the style and design of your prompt is because it gets really long if you can hit rate limits pretty quick doing it that way. But it is just an option you have if you only have like 1 or 2 tags and you want to be very specific about it. So if I put like tag apartment here to determine, when it's an apartment, so I'll copy that. And then, if I do this like 4 more time, or, let's see, apartment, home, business. So this is like residential. And then this is like business, something like that. And then put here and here. So now it's going to be checking this. So it's going to check the handoff. It's going to check the disqualified, the tag. All of these are going to be checked on every single request. Like every single time the contact replies, it's going to send this prompt and completion to the API every single time. So since I know that the design of the prompt is to first always ask the zip code and not do anything else, I'm going to make it so that, and since I know it's then going to always move on to asking about the type of the building that it's going to be in, I'm going to make it so that these 4 for like the building type, for example, I'm going to make sure that it doesn't hit that until I meet the condition, which is branch, let's say no tech assigned. And then I'm going to say the contact details, the tags does not include tech. I guess, oops, I didn't mean to do that. Okay, I guess not. Okay, so technician A. And then I'm going to also add an and to say the same thing. So tags does not include technician B. I'm going to add that tag. So if both of these are true, where it doesn't have either of those, then I'm going to go ahead and go down that webhook. But if they do have technician A includes technician A, then I'm going to go down that branch. And then if it's got technician B, technician B, then I'm going to basically, well, actually, you know what? I don't even have to do this because I just needed to have one of the conditions assigned. So I can actually have an or conditional here that says tag includes, well, so that's up to you, right? So if I just want to make sure that a technician is assigned, then I would do it like this. But if I wanted to make sure that like I'm able to add a different branch for each technician, then I would make sure that I have its own, it's got its own branch because, and I gotta do this quick because I have a call that's supposed to be starting right now. But if I have technician A, what I can do is I can copy this whole action and put it right here. Except I don't have to worry about tech A or tech B being checked every time. Now I just need to check tag residential. And then I need to get that residential tag here. And I need to put it here. And then I got to do the same thing for tag business. And then I got to do the same thing for tag apartment. And then just have the individual prompts here, depending on, you know, what the tag is. Save that, and then I should be able to copy it here as well. And then the big difference that I would want to put is that calendar is going to be, this is going to be calendar for technician A. So technician A calendar. So I'd have to put whatever that calendar ID is. And then the same thing for over here. If this is technician B, I would need to make sure that the calendar is set to tech B calendar. And then the other thing too is make sure the goal is set to booking. So that way it does actually read that calendar. So make sure goal set to booking. So yeah, so that's just a little insight on kind of how you can do it with a niche specific for something like pest control, but the process is kind of the same no matter what. You know, what, it doesn't really matter what niche what niche you're doing it for. So so yeah, that's mostly what I'm gonna say to here. So there's one more announcement I have for today, and that is that if you guys want to get 4 months for free of Capri GPT, you can do so. And I will post the link for that in the channel here. Too bad Jordan left, or else he probably would have signed up for that. links.capri.us/Capri GPT. So put that link in the chat. Everybody make sure you check it out. We've got an awesome deal that we literally just launched today, where if you sign up for our yearly plan, you actually get 4 months for free. So we don't do discounts very often, and we're doing it on purpose. We have our reasons. So when we do launch them, it's usually not good to wait because we don't know how long they're going to last for. So this guarantees for the next 12 months, it locks in your price for at least the next 12 months, and you get 4 months for free. So I highly recommend checking out that offer, seeing the details about it and everything. And if you have any questions about it, of course, you can absolutely reach out to me or Seth and ask. But definitely a big deal that I didn't want, you know, everybody to miss out on. So cool. All right, guys. Well, I think we'll put a pin in it there for today. And I'll get this recording out hopefully soon as possible. And yeah, thank you all so much for hopping on here today. Have a wonderful week and weekend.